Hello again and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ghouls and goblins. It's time for another Strixhaven theory crafting video. Today is Prismari. This is the color combination of blue and red, also known as Is It. We've got some really expensive spells that we're looking to cast for free in the deck, which is awesome. This is a tempo-based deck, even though it feels mid-range. We'll do our best to explain our reasoning here as we get into it. Thank you again for your time and attention. If you want to show your support, just go ahead and leave a thumbs up. That's the greatest way that you can help support the channel. Let's get into it. Alrighty, 60 cards, best of 1, 25 land, with a nice even split down the middle through our color breakdown. We have 2 copies of multiple choice. Viewing card details this time instead of embarrassing ourselves. If X is 1, scry 1, then draw a card. If X is 2, you may choose a player. They return a creature they control to its hand. They get to make that choice, which is pretty cool. If X is 3, create a 4/4 elemental creature token. And if X is 4 or more, do all of the above. This is quite nice, so it's 1 plus X, of course, to cast it. This is a sorcery speed spell, which does take some of the fun away, but there's a lot of value present. We have 2 copies of Culmination of Studies for 2 mana plus X, also has sorcery speed. Exile the top X cards of your library. For each land card exiled this way, create a treasure token. For each blue card this way, draw a card. And for each red card exiled this way, Culminating of Studies deals 1 damage to each opponent. Keep in mind that your land are colorless, so if you're exiling a red land, this will be only the land trigger. It's not going to be the land trigger and the damage trigger. But it's still very, very nice, and if we can get a bunch of exiled cards going on, this is going to be really, really cool for us. 2 copies of Into the Royal at 2 mana at instant speed. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We can kick it for an additional 2, and if we do, draw a card. 4 copies of Prismari Command. Instant speed for 3 mana. Choose 2, dealing 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards, then discards 2 cards. Target player creates a treasure token, which I like the most actually, and we can also destroy target artifact, which is quite interesting. The deck revolves around the creation of artifacts, being the treasures, and we'll utilize those a little later on. Before we do, we have Rowan, Scholar of Sparks for 3 mana, 2 loyalty when she enters. Static ability of instances and sorceries you cast costs 1 less, +1, dealing 1 damage to each opponent. If you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn, deal 3 damage to each opponent instead. -4, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that spell and choose new targets for the copy. On the opposing side, as it is an MDFC, we have Will, Scholar of Frost, with the same static ability. Mine is on the wheel. She insists that I cannot do a recording uninterrupted. +1, up to 1 target creature has base power and toughness of 0-2 until your next turn. -3, draw 2 cards. And -7, exile up to 5 target permanents. For each permanent exile this way, its controller creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, which should be quite formidable. We're not using this to our advantage within this particular deck. However, there are other builds that I will be doing in the future that really will capitalize on Will, Scholar of Frost minus ability. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Vilna, Dean of Perfection. It's a 2/2 for 3 mana. We can tap it to exile an instant or sorcery card from our hand, putting 3 hone counters on it, and it gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this card is exiled, remove a hone counter from it. And when the last counter is removed, if it's exiled, you may cast it and do so for 4 less, which is really quite nice here. Flipping this over, we have Nazri, Dean of Expression, 4/4, and at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from among the exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though it were any mana to cast those spells, which is so powerful. And whenever you cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on the Dean. This is really going to help us, hit with a 5/5 through all of the control that we have. We're going to keep the attacking lanes open, and we'll be playing our opponent's spells, which is, of utmost importance. 3 copies of the Brazen Borer. This is a 3/1 with flash and flying, only blocking other creatures with flying. Petty Theft for 2 at instant speed adds the adventure. Much like Into the Royal, return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. 3 copies of Bone Crusher Giant, a 4/3, and whenever it becomes a target of a spell, Bone Crusher damage will deal 2 damage to that spell's controller, and it has Stomp for 2 at instant speed. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target. A single copy of Gazaleth Prismari for 4 mana, a 3/4 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Artifacts you control have tapped at 1 mana of any color, spending this mana only to cast instants and sorcery spells. 2 copies of the Ifrit Flame Painter, a 1/4 with double strike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery card from among your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If it would be put back into your graveyard, exile it instead. 4 copies of our Goldspan Dragon to capitalize on all of the artifacts that we've made so far. A 4/4 with flying and haste. Whenever it attacks or becomes a target of a spell, create a treasure token, and treasures we control have sacrificed to add 2 mana of any color, as opposed to the previous one. 4 copies of Creative Outburst for 7 mana, a little expensive, at instant speed though. Dealing 5 damage to any target, look at the top 5 cards of your library, putting one of them into your hand and the rest of them in the bottom of your library in a random order. We can discard it for 2 mana, creating a treasure token, which is very, very powerful, and then we can cast that from our graveyard potentially. The same goes for the Magma Opus for 8 mana at instant speed, dealing 4 damage divided as we choose among any number of targets. Tap up to 2 target permanents, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token, and then draw 2 cards. Again, discarding it here for 2. The idea of the deck will be to utilize the Flame Painter to cast the Opus and the Outburst from our graveyard for free. We can also capitalize on playing of our opponent's spells through the Dean of Expression via the mana created from our Goldspan Dragon, which is really quite nice. The Flame Painter will be able to attack with the Access Tunnel, a new land. We can pay 3, tap it. Target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. That's going to be the Flame Painter. We've got the Pathways, we've got the Snow Mountains and Islands alongside the Frost Boil Snarl, which is really quite nice. So that's the deck. General strategy and synergy is to just smash your opponent so hard, right? Isn't it always? Create a ton of treasure tokens through the discard of the Outburst and the Opus. These will allow us to ramp into the Goldspan Dragon. Also, when we get there, if we haven't used them yet, we can capitalize on those. Playing them later with our Flame Painter from the graveyard, basically as a sure thing unless it gets removed, because we have the unblockable ability, which is quite nice. And Rowan here, because why not? Most of our deck is instances of sorcery, so the reduction in that is quite nice. Whether it be the Royal now casting for 1, the Command for 2, Stomp for 1, Petty Theft for 1. So you see just how powerful that can be as we play it for 3, have 4 mana, and then can still do something to protect it potentially. That's it. There's not terribly too much to the deck. Discard the good things, play them for free, push up Rowan, get the -4, so we've got that damage to them through the copies, which is quite nice. And if we're putting that 4 damage into them along with the 5 damage, the 2 of these represent 9 damage. Both of them would be 18, and then the unblockable Flame Painter with double strike kind of makes up that other 2 as well. And that's not even with the flying of the Borrower, with the flying of the Prismari Dragon and the Goldspan Dragon. And then, of course, we've got the Petty Theft and the Stomps to keep our attacking lanes open alongside even the Command and Into the Royal. So lots going on with the deck. I'm fairly confident for this one. If we go in and take some simulation draws now, 2 lands in hand, which is actually kind of scary. Dragon, Painter, 2 dragons, islands, Borrower, Opus. Wow, this is just like Arena. So, but even here, we could discard this, create a treasure token, and that gives us our 3rd land. If we wanted to risk it, we would draw Into the Royal. That gives us another turn. There's our mountain. That's really what we needed, and that's our 3rd. Plus, we have the Opus, which would be the 4th for the Flame Painter. There's the 5th for the Dragon. Oh, no Dragon, because We don't have. There it is. There's the dragon, and that's actually 2 dragons. Plus, now we've got the treasures and the borrowers there. So, it seems fine. If we take another here, Pathway, Snarl, Dean, Dragon, Outburst, Land. So this is nice. 3 land in hand. Plus, we discard the Opus for that treasure, and we can just go from there. Drawing another Dean, which isn't the greatest. Command is good. Another island is very good. Maya's in the house, running her laps. She's like, I cannot wait to play this deck. I'm gonna run until I get there. And we'll take one more draw for fun, and it's a petty theft, so it's not unplayable. This is definitely playable. If we look at the simulation over 100 games, we can see, the 2, 3, 4 land is taking up almost everything. There is a potential to draw 5 land, but it's so minuscule, same as the 1 land, that we would just mulligan, right? We mulligan 5 and 6, 7, and we mulligan 1 and 0. We just only keep 2, 3, and 4 within the deck. So let me know what you guys thought of it. I like it. I think it's going to be pretty cool to be able to cast stuff like the Opus and the Outburst from our graveyard for free. What other things would you like to cast with the Flame Painter from your graveyard for free? Again, trying to incorporate as many new cards in the deck as I can. It may not be the most competitive, but with that price point of $438, it better be. Right, so the deck is popping it quite expensive, and I think it's because of the Gold Spent Dragon. A lot of these new cards, I'm sure, are quite expensive as well, but I love theory crafting. New cards just make me so happy. Cheers. Thank you guys for all of your support. Don't miss out on our giveaways, competitions, and of course, all of those goodies found within the Linktree link in the description below, or you can Google Hello Good Game Linktree. Support on Patreon if you feel like a baller. And of course, we'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.